Okay, there are also dedicated workstations, and you don't see these as much. Um, this is like, it's not a Mac, it's not a PC, it's not running Windows or Linux or any other. It's a customized unit. All right, this is a Tascam X480 workstation, and this is something that you may use if you ever get into like live recording, or you need like a fault tolerant system, something that's not going to crash on you in the middle of recording or playback. Okay, so it's kind of a mission critical thing. You don't see it as much, but you do again see it in more like live applications where you can't afford to have something break down. They're very expensive. I see these systems largely disappearing in more favor of you know laptop computers, or whether it's Mac or PC. It's just gone much lower in cost, and there are more flexible options out there because you're kind of stuck and subscribed to this unit once you get it. There's you can't really export a lot of stuff to other devices. Um, Flexible workstations are something that are happening now, like with the iPad, for example. This is an Alesis unit that it docks with your iPad. Okay, and on the back of the device, see if I have another. Yeah, there it is. On the back of the device, you can see that I can have a MIDI control, right? So I can have a MIDI keyboard connected to this or other device, and it happens to be USB jack in the on the side or in the back of the unit. And then we have some other inputs here for, this is a universal jack for a microphone or an instrument cable. So you could have two inputs for a stereo connection. All right. And even a foot switch to have probably a pause and record or pause and playback mode. And this looks like GarageBand to me. And you probably could just, edit and mix and match to your heart's content. But the hardware, the interface, and the iPad come together in one unit, which is brilliant. And I'm seeing a lot more of these kind of novel, flexible workstations, is these kind of clever devices coming out. And I think we're going to see a lot more as the years go on, especially as the cost of tablets goes down and replicating audio hardware goes down. One of my favorites right now, I don't own one, but I'd like to soon, is a company called Slate makes one that you can have a touch screen. You use it with your favorite software, like maybe you're using Pro Tools or Logic or Cubase or something like that, your audio tool. They don't have Reaper for this yet, but they should, and I'm sure they will soon. And there's a little like strip down here that's universal, that is an overlay for whatever software you're using. But this looks like Pro Tools, and you could have not just one finger, but your whole hand or two hands on one screen, and it'll just keep up with all the updates. And you don't need a mixing console. You don't need a control surface. The surface is the screen, and this happens to be two of their models, the Ravens, in use simultaneously. Really cool new technology. Okay. There are audio editors that we use for software. Reaper is one of them. It's more of a digital audio workstation, but audio editors tend to mean we're working with a two-channel system. Sony makes one called SoundForge. It's owned by a company called Magix now, but for many years, SoundForge was the standard for two-channel editing. And I think in later versions you can have more than two channels. You don't see a lot of just two-channel editing anymore because any processor on any device, even a phone, could handle more than two-channel editing at this point. So it's kind of going away. But these types of programs tend to be very surgical with the way we can edit a two-channel sound file or one-channel sound file, audio clip, I should say, down to the forensic level, a sample level. You can take a pencil tool and correct a little anomaly or glitch and that sort of thing. Okay, and here you can see SoundForge on the left, where you have getting to the sample level almost, and you can go in and surgically fix a problem with a also good for like if you're recording a record and you have some pops and clicks on it, you can get rid of the clicks by going in real close and just eliminating it with a pencil tool. Audacity, I'm only showing because it exists, but they are going beyond the two channels, and they have gone beyond the two channels at this point. But my personal recommendation is not to use it because Reaper can just do so much more. And for just trying it out for educational purposes, it's free. So why not go with the best choice, right? But it does exist, Audacity. and it is okay. Multi-track editors are really where it's at, and Reaper is my number one choice for work. When you need to have multiple files at once, not only audio clips, audio files, but you could also incorporate musical sequences, MIDI sequences, if you had to. And there's a capability to have both running at the same time, and video. Reaper is great for all of those things now in version 6. And the great thing is we'll be able to synchronize with our assignments. We'll be working with video clips and building these soundscapes to match, character animation or a cinematic, or maybe we're doing, all sorts of things. But it's extremely versatile. Okay, GarageBand for iPad is another one that's kind of like the very slightest intro to Logic, which is kind of like the flagship software. But it can be done. You can create great stuff on an iPad or even a phone. One of the tools that some of my peers use often, and I use from time to time, are loop-based software tools. All right, this is a very specialized version of multi-track editing software where you can stretch any sort of recorded rhythm or melody or audio track that has a beat to it to conform to the tempo that you want in your song. So here's a drum loop in a particular tempo. And a backing loop. Put them together, and you've got this. And that's just two tracks, okay? Suddenly you're making music, right? Now, if you had a whole bunch of loops to choose from, you're doing a mashup, right? That's an art form in itself, a legitimate art form, and create something new out of other materials, other existing materials. And you hear this all the time with record samples, being incorporated into modern beats and that sort of thing. Ableton is another one. Ableton Live is a great tool for this as well. This is, I'm using, what am I using here? It looks like Sony Acid, I think. There's also FL Studio, which is another great tool. Okay. And you can also manipulate not just the speed of a track, but the time, the pitch correction as well. So you can alter the pitch and the time and mix and match to your heart's content. Another tool, the one that I use a lot when I'm doing music production, used to be called tracking software or trackers, but they're now known as sequencers. And these primarily focus on music production from all sorts of input sources. They could be virtual instruments. They could be, live instruments, like a guitar or keyboard or something like that. All right, coming through an audio interface. And here's GarageBand again. But you can scale these up from kind of an entry-level software where you are allowed to have 16 independent tracks of recording and mixing, all the way up to 512 tracks with video support and automation of real-time effects and all sorts of things, right? But sequencers primarily do that. They can also do some audio editing, of course, because you have to slice and dice here a bit. But it's not Reaper. Reaper tries to do everything at once, where a sequencer really focuses on music production. And of course, we have plugins. We're going to have a lot of fun with these. Just like in kind of graphic design, using Photoshop, you see all sorts of filters you can use, like Crackalure or Mosaic Tile, or the ultimate cliched, the obligatory lens flare effect on everything. All right, we have audio plugins that kind of have the same analog equivalent. So we have things like reverb, chorus, flanging, phasing, doubling, various forms of modulation, and I will go over all of these things with you as much as possible. We're gonna have a lot of fun with these, but we also have to kind of reel ourselves in a bit and control ourselves, because like anything, it sounds great in your headphones, but we tend to use them too much. We tend to overuse effects, and so we want to always dial it back as much as possible. And a little bit tends to go a long way in a mix. Let's see a couple examples here. So here's a large variety of plugins I've got. They're necessary for adding variety, interest, and what I call pop to sounds in game development. So you can have something that kind of cuts through the clutter, if you will, or pops through. Also serves as what we call a sweetener or ear candy, something that's fun to listen to over and over again. So here's a creature vocal from somewhere. It sounds pretty good on its own, but you can make it sound even better. So this is before the use of a plugin. It's already been pitch shifted down live, but let's just listen to it. Whoops, try that again, Professor. Let's try that one more time. Right, so this is really strange sounding voice, but if I add a plugin to it, so I used a pitch shifter once again. It's like I'm pitch shifting it twice, and a little bit of reverb on there to give it a little more eeriness, like it's in a giant cave or something. And here's a sound of a witch laughter. That's a pretty good character voice, but I could add a little bit of effects processing to it. Right, so that's called a delay, and it has a kind of a feedback to it. We hear that echo effect. It's a long delay. All right. Sometimes you can chain plugins one after the other, and we're going to do this in Reaper as well, where you can have a particular process they're going to do, and then you could have another one on top of that, another one on top of that. All right. So here's an original voice. All right. This is a fire elemental in one of the games I worked on, Brave Order. Let me add a pitch plugin to it. All right, great. And how about doubling that voice with the pitch plugin? I can make it cooler. I'm going to add some reverb on top of that. There. Now that sounds pretty ominous because this creature happens to be like 50 feet tall.